when did the word work become a real word for you? When did it become something that had definition in your mind? So for me, when I was a boy, because I was raised right, I had to do chores. Any of you guys have to do chores? Yeah, I could see some of you, yeah. So chores are the work you have to do so you can get to do what you want to do. Chores are the work you have to do get to do what you want to do. And some of us have, that's pretty much our experience of work. It's a lot like chores. But the other experience I had of work when I was a kid, I didn't even think of it as work. One of the things that I like to do is I like to build tree houses. Now, they weren't really fancy. You probably wouldn't have recognized them as a tree house because they didn't have like a roof or shingles or windows or anything like that. They were really just platforms in a tree, kind of like a tree stand. But I called it a tree house, and it involved a lot of effort. And we had to go around and find lumber, like scrap lumber. It's construction sites. We had to carry that back and stockpile it. We had to steal nails from our dad, which is always a risky thing to do, and get the tools and all this kind of thing. And there was a lot of carrying, and there was a lot of cutting, and there was a lot of hammering, and there was some bruised thumbs, and there's sweat and toil, but it didn't feel like sweat and toil. And I would imagine that each of you have had an experience at work at one point or another that was like the treehouse. That it's like, it just is something that flowed. It was something that you just did because it was fun to do. And that's what is on the other end of our experience axis here. And we think that the experience of work, for most of us, sort of toggles between chore and treehouse. And maybe some of us are pretty stuck on the chore side, and maybe some of you that are like glasses not even half full but always full, say everything you do is a treehouse. We don't believe you because we're cynical New Yorkers, but we think we're kind of bouncing in between these two. So that's the experience of work. But what about the meaning of it? What about the why behind it? And there we think about two different ways to view our work as well. And we think about something we call the secular way of viewing our work. And that is work that is for me and by me. When I started in business many, many years ago, it was all about me. I wanted to make as much money as I could, as quickly as I could. I didn't even say the lie that it was to provide for my family, because I didn't have one. I just wanted to make as much money as I could, as fast as I could. It was totally for me. And it was all by me. It was all up to me, on my own, to work hard, to work smart, to be better than others, to win at the game, and to figure it out. And if I didn't do it, nobody would. So it's very isolating, this secular perspective about work. We contrast that, so that's the secular, with the sacred, a sacred way of viewing work. And we think ultimately we can do our work for God. It's something that we can do like we just think of it as He's given us talent and opportunity, and we offer it back to Him, which changes even what we think of as worship. We also do it for others. It's not just about us. And we know from a lot of research, not just Christian research, that the most motivating thing about most people's jobs is the impact they have, the positive impact they have on other people. And here's the kind of clincher on this. It's not just that we do it for God and for others, but we actually can do our work, we think, with Him, with God. And I'm just going to put a W on there. There's these themes that go through. They start in the Jewish scriptures and they carry on into the New Testament. This idea that God is building and God is protecting, and that people can do those things. We can create. We can bring order out of chaos for the purpose of human flourishing. That's building. And we can protect. We can protect people from danger. We can mend. We can heal. And He's doing those things, and He's doing those things through people. So we think a sacred way of looking at work includes our work in a much bigger story. And that helps change the why. So this chart gives us 4 kind of on-the-ground realities of work. And if you're in a chores mindset, and it's secular, we call that the grind. You don't like it, you still have to do it, and you're all on your own. A secular treehouse is work becomes a god pretty quickly. It becomes the most important thing in your life, the thing that you'll do anything to succeed at. And you may do well for a while, but eventually it'll wear you out. If we can move above that line from secular to sacred, even chores have a positive label. Chores are for growth. They form us and shape us into the men and women that we're meant to be. Chore work is not wasted work when you break out of a secular frame and you see your work in a sacred frame. And finally, when you go over here to the treehouse, so it's work that's seen from a sacred frame, and it's work that we enjoy. Work becomes a gift. Becomes a gift. And this is from Ecclesiastes. It says, everyone to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them, anyone who God has given the ability to accept their lot and rejoice in their toil, this is a gift from God. And so at VOCA, what we want to do, what gets us out of bed in the morning, is we want to help people get from here to here. We want to help them discover the gift. You know, one of the things that we do a lot of, it's called the Calling Discernment Program. A number of you have done it. It's a process of helping you understand what's treehouse work look for me and how do I get there? How do I go from grind to gift? Another thing that we want to do is we want to help people move from the secular to the sacred. And the content that we produce, which is some of it's digital, some of it's live, it helps reframe work as part of a bigger story. And then the executive coaching and the team building and some of the business services we offer, I think in some ways they're trying to help people move from chores to treehouse. Again, we really don't think you get to spend all of your working days in a treehouse mode. And there's even some research that indicates that if you spend more than 20-25% of your time in your ideal flow tasks, it doesn't add any more enjoyment to your work. So that's very interesting. But we think that through data and study and feedback, we can help people identify what this is and how to get there. So that's what we do. We want to change lives by changing work. We want to help people move from grind to gift.